This podcast encourages and empowers you to create your own unique real story, develop your own unique real statement, and discover your own unique real self. The power is yours. Good morning, Andy Smith. How are you doing on this wonderful, beautiful morning?
It is a very beautiful morning here. It's probably a little colder than it is where you are, but I'm doing fantastically well. Thank you.
You are welcome. Where is here?
So I live a little bit west of London in the UK, and it's a very cold January morning, very frosty, but there's barely a cloud in the sky, and it's one of those lovely winter mornings that just makes you glad to be alive.
Love it. Well, that's wonderful. All right, my friend. Well, do tell me which of your talents is responsible for us connecting at this specific time in history.
Yeah, I have done a great many things in my life, but what I do now is I help people overcome alcohol addiction problems and teach them a completely new way of dealing with things that maybe they've struggled with for quite a long period of time.
Habits. So who did you learn that from, that ability to do that?
So I've got a great many teachers in my life. I've been a lifelong sort of studier of how things work, everybody from Wayne Dyer to Will Smith. But I think just what I do now is just a summation of my whole life's experiences, good, bad, and indifferent. And I find myself applying all sorts of strange things from my past to helping people out of what can sometimes feel like quite a hopeless situation.
That's amazing. Where can people connect with you, people who have this struggle?
So I've got a website, which is called theboozemaster.com. And on there, I tell people a bit more about the program in terms of what I do, how it works, and probably most importantly, why it works and why it's different. So theboozemaster.com would be the best place to go. And I have a free book on there where I tell people a little bit more about my story as well.
That's great. All right, so let's dig into being a strategist. Who did you learn that from?
I mean, I've got a blue chip background in terms of working throughout the healthcare industry. So I've learned a great many business skills, and again, little did I know that I would be applying them to this particular problem. But there's a whole lot of kind of formal training that I've had in the past through various different aspects of my career.
Yeah, which definitely helps you to serve better, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure. And I think the ability to empathize and then move people forward at pace, I think, is one of the things that I've always been very good at in a corporate setting. But it's particularly relevant in this kind of situation.
Well done. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of your undertaking.
Thank you.
I think it's definitely something that needs an access point, the way you've created one, so that I can get in there without too much challenges and learn efficiently and effectively.
Well, that was probably one of the main driving forces behind me setting up theboozemaster.com, was because when I was having my own personal struggle, I found it very difficult to access help. And there are obviously some very good, well-meaning organizations out there, but none of them particularly resonated with me. And so I felt there was a real need to do things a little bit differently.
Well done. All right. Well, do tell me one other thing that you've done consistently over the last 3 years, please.
I think probably for me, the last 3 years represents me pushing myself out of my comfort zone. And that is mentally, that is spiritually and physically as well. When I finally got a grasp of my own personal demons, it's a very interesting thing when you do something that you previously thought was impossible. It makes you ask yourself a very interesting question. What else have you talked yourself out of? And I had a lifelong goal of riding the Tour de France And at the age of 52, I thought that was beyond impossible. But in 2018, I did that 1 week before the professionals on the same schedule as them, albeit a little bit slower, I have to say. But I made it and I did it. And that's something that I never thought in a million years I'd be able to do.
Wow, that's amazing. How can one hear that and not say something like "sweet"? How did it make you feel?
Oh, it was extraordinary. And I mean, a 3-week journey doing something like that certainly takes you to all sorts of parts of yourself that you didn't realize existed, good, bad. There were some very low points and some extraordinary high points. And actually, the two of them tend to be inextricably linked because it's, when you achieve something that is really hard and really difficult, they were probably the high points of the journey that I probably remember the most.
Why would you suggest someone that's listening do that? Not necessarily the Tour de France, but have a junction in their life where they have the choice to do something like that, something that takes them out of their comfort zone.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the key thing for me is to commit. If you want to do something, I think the key thing is you just have to take action, even if it's just a small step. And I know when I signed up for the tour, I didn't even own a bike, but I was up against the deadline and somebody said, look, if you want to do this, you have to make a choice today, because otherwise we're going to give the place to somebody else. And I think that is something that cannot be overestimated, is just to take a step, take that first step. You don't have to see the whole staircase, as Martin Luther King said. You just have to take the first step in faith. And that has been such a lesson to me, in terms of the people that I deal with, but also in terms of what I did with the tour. It's just the universe rewards action.
Take action. Amazing audience. Again, you're hearing it live here from Andy Smith. You can check him out at Booze Masters. I did, and as he said, and it's just that, it helps you strategize, but it's like it gets you directly in the door as to what is required to access information. And I loved it. I loved it. Andy, let's switch gears for a moment now. Let me invite you into my time machine that is surrounded with beautiful, warm blue Caribbean water.
Wonderful.
Andy, what is your earliest childhood memory?
Well, interesting you mentioned about blue water. My earliest memory is probably at the age of about 3 or 4 years old. I was walking along the beach with my parents and I got hit by a freak wave and actually got washed out to sea. And I specifically remember it in amongst a sort of, I suppose, like most of us, you don't really engage with a lot of that kind of part of your life. But that I can pretty much remember it like it was yesterday.
So remind me again, how old were you in that memory?
I was probably about between 3 and 4 years old, I think.
So why do you think this memory is so clear?
I think because it was reinforced with such a huge amount of emotion and fear and things like that. I think it just really makes it stick in terms of when something has got that kind of emotional sort of depth to it.
How do you see that memory connecting to who you are today?
Yeah, I mean that's another great question. I think just that whole one of the things that I've really learned is that if you want to change anything about yourself or whatever, it's about dealing with your feelings. I think we try to, certainly in the kind of in the Western sort of developed world, as we would call it, we tend to try and rationalize everything, and quite often a lot of the answers are found in your feelings and your emotions, and that for me was quite a powerful metaphor of just how having a huge emotional experience at such a young age could still make it so vivid to me today.
I agree. Can I offer an interpretation as well to the thought picture you created in my mind? I love the fact that the sea showed you in real life the power of action. It's so similar to you deciding to sign up, right? Not having a bicycle, but that the imagery of the sea, that wave just practically grabbing you up, right, and pulling you in. And
Yeah.
again, there are two spectrums, there are two sides of the spectrum, right? One where you can be pulled in and remain low. And you said it so well. Sometimes it feels as though they're interconnected, the high points and the low points, right? But
Very true.
understanding that you can live in the majority of times in the high points, despite what is the scenario, because of your mindset. That I believe is very powerful. Your mindset, because you could be laughing all the way through as an adult now if the wave pulls you in, right? You'll be like, "Ooh, isn't this intriguing?" While you're spinning, but you can also choose to live on the lower side of it, and you get to choose. I love the imagery.
There was an interesting metaphor from the tour that when we were climbing big mountains, and sometimes it would take you several hours to get up, and it's interesting. The mountain is always the same. It's been there for millions of years, and the only thing that changes your experience of climbing it is your mindset and your attitude to whether you have a good experience and enjoy it, or whether you have a bad experience and it's terrible. That's all in your head. So I completely agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, love it. If we fast forward to when you were 12, what was your favorite song?
Well, this probably ages me quite nicely. That was definitely "You're the One That I Want" from the film Grease by John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John.
Love it. I heard another Grease song last night from one young lady. It was, but it was the first time I saw it. Wow, the dress code and that. Wow,
a wonderful era.
Yeah, it was amazing. Love it, love it. All right, my friend, we've arrived at our destination. But before we get off of this time machine, there's a small declaration form. So it's yes or no. We're going to move pretty quickly here. Are you ready?
Okay.
Andy, have you chosen someone to pass on your skills to?
I want to pass them. Yes.
Are you married?
Yes. Not yet.
Do you have children?
I do.
Do you believe in God?
I do.
Do you have an inner circle of friends?
I very much do.
Do you watch TV for more than 3 hours a day?
Very rarely.
What about screen time? The phone and the computer, more than 8 or less than 8 hours a day?
Probably more than 8, given my business.
All right. If you, Andy, had to share with us your own unique real statement, a statement that represents who you are, Andy Smith, what would you say that is?
I'd say everything that I've experienced in my life, good and bad, was there for a reason, and it's made me the person that I am today.
Love it. Andy, again, great pleasure. Before you leave, is there anything else you'd like to share with our amazing audience?
No, I'm very grateful for the opportunity to share my message about what I do. If anybody wants to learn more and they struggle with this particular thing, then please visit theboozemaster.com. And I'd be delighted to have a conversation with anybody who feels like they need a bit of help. And keep up the good work. I love what you're doing. I am so inspired by your desire to share things. And I will certainly be listening to all the rest of your sessions. It's an amazing thing you're doing. Well done. Congratulations, my friend.
Thank you. The Booze Masters. That's very important, right? The part of it.
Theboozemaster.com.
Love it. Andy Smith, thank you for being on What is Inspired by 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones.
Angel, thank you so much. All the best to you.
Thank you.
This segment has been brought to you by Amazel Enterprise.